Sales is the life force of any business. Sales allows you to grow your revenue, fight inflation, attract new customers, and make sure those customers are happy and keeps your business healthy. And a salesperson in this process is of paramount importance. They are the ones who are driving the engines, they are the wood in the fireplace. And now sales is a great career. However, it is one that is truly a contact sport and is 100% results oriented. You have to be able to hold yourself accountable and have to be able to perform regardless of how you may feel and regardless of what's going on professionally or personally. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about how to build and develop your sales mindset to do just that. Welcome back to Sundays with Josue, a live YouTube podcast where we discuss business and mindset with the purpose of serving as education and inspiration for the next generation of entrepreneurs. And on this episode, we're going to be talking with Mike Cardascia. Now, who is Mike Cardascia? Well, Mike Cardascia has been a salesperson his entire adult life. He started off selling cell phones and has grown from there in a variety of sectors in which he has been abundantly successful, ranging from marketing to now doing consulting with mortgage loan originators. And on top of that, he speaks on stage nationally and has been able to share his process. And what's really most impressive about Michael's story is the fact that despite the ups and downs of both sales and life, he has been able to go through it all with a positive, happy, and optimistic mindset and teaching others to do the same thing as well, helping mortgage loan originators earn more while working less. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring on my friend and brother, Mike Cardascia.
Hey, what's going on, brother? Dude, I am so honored and pumped to be here, man. I've been excited for this.
Oh yeah, me too, man. I think we're gonna bring people a lot of value because I think, and you've experienced it yourself, sales is really a mental battle. It's something that if your mind is not in the right place, your performance will not be there, and your income and your impact and your ability to help will not be there either. So I'm excited for this as well. So thanks so
Yeah,
much for being on the show.
yeah, likewise, man. This is the highlight of my week. So, hey, kudos to you. I don't know if you know this, but I'm your number one fan, man. I've been here for every live stream, every episode. I know you had my father on here and our good friends like Moses. I mean, so many great episodes, man. So keep it up, man. But
Yeah,
thanks for having me here.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So let's go ahead and jump right on in and hit these people
Yeah.
over the head with some value. So let's just start it off on a very, very fundamental level. So in your experience, what would you say is the proper sales mindset?
I think it's a mindset of it's a servant mindset, right? Because in business and sales, you get paid in correlation to the problems you solve, the value you provide, the people that you help. Zig Ziglar, just an absolute legend in sales training world, said, "Make $1 million, you got to help 1 million people," right?
Mm,
So I mean, it's that of helping others, right? Rather than, I think that the stigma behind being a salesman is being pushy and salesy and aggressive and almost like used car salesman-y, like get like a bad rep, right? Like I think sales is a noble profession, right? I think that sales has been branded wrong, right? Because in my experience, I've always very much stood behind the products I've sold, the companies I've worked with, the people I've been partnered with and aligned with.
mm,
I've had happy clients and customers and relationships. I've helped people solve problems and better their lives, right? To me, it's a noble profession to be able to help somebody along their journey of life and put a product or service in their hands that makes it better. I'm grateful for all the people that have sold me these products. I'm grateful for the
mm,
person that sold me this home that we're in right now, right? This is my house by the beach in St. Pete. I wouldn't rather live anywhere else in the world. I'm happy that the Jeep salesman sold me the Jeep in the driveway that I love. Everybody knows me, knows that I'm a Jeep guy, right? I'm happy that the guy that sold me this shirt when I was in the mall. I'm happy because these things have bettered my lives to me
mm,
personally, right? So to me, sales is very much a noble profession when you approach it ethically, when you stand behind a product that you would use yourself or that you'd sell to your mother, your sister, your brother, right? To me,
mhm.
that's what sales is about. So it's a serving, giving, helping mindset and attitude, and that's how you become very successful in this field.
Man, that's so powerful. And I think what you said about sales as it being noble pursuit and being able to help people, I think that extends to business as well. And
Mhm.
you did a really good job of distinguishing between selling something that, is snake oil versus selling something that is helping people. industries such as, home security, cars, finance, these are things that have changed people's lives. Like you said with the Jeep, if you didn't have that, you couldn't get around, right? So I think it's one of those things where people, like you said, have a stigma about sales, that it's a sleazy salesperson. But it also depends, what is the person selling. If they're selling something, if they're selling a cure for your ailment, whether it be in your life or in your business, they can really turn your situation around. And oftentimes, at least in my experience, and I would love to hear your take, I feel like oftentimes a salesperson is more of a counselor and a guide, and like they guide you through the process, because some of these products that are being sold, especially in like the financial sector, can be extremely complex, and you trying to go about purchasing or procuring that same item yourself can be rather daunting. What has been your experience?
Yeah, well, I agree. I think that that's the way sales should be, and perhaps most people don't deploy it that way or train that way, right? There are many instances I can think of where people have approached me, I think, in an inappropriate manner, right? Or just very much about the sale coming across. I can understand why sales has a bad stigma and rep because of bad actors. Like good and evil is very real, my friend, right? There are good people and bad people, right? So I don't want to say that every salesman, when I say it's a noble profession, it's only if you yourself have ethics and morals and you stand behind the product that you stand behind. But I mean, in any realm, just to take this into any, industry or country or city or state or this people or that people or this business or that business or this profession or that. I mean, there's bad doctors, there's bad real estate agents, there's bad mortgage loan originators, I'm sure, right? There's good people and bad people, right? So good and evil exists. And when you take this industry, when you take business, when you take the approach of a serving, helpful, providing value, counselor type of approach, when you can be an expert in your field, when you can listen, when you can find somebody's problems and provide solutions to those, I believe it becomes a very noble profession. And I think that is an incredibly lucrative one. And the more, to the degree that you're able to help more people, you're able to create more opportunity and create more income in a capitalist, limitless sense, right? Like some
Mm-hmm.
of the most highest paid people in our nation are salesmen, right? Or business owners, right? When you look at the demographic of who makes the most money, typically it's entrepreneurs, salesmen, CEOs, and doctors, statistically, right? So there's you can make 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 30 million, 50 million a year just selling certain different unique products, right? So it's all in relation to the problems you solve, the value you provide, and helping more people. And when you take that type of mentality to the business, I believe it's a very noble profession that has a very lucrative reward, right?
100%. And on that topic, actually, let's talk about income. I think that's going to be a hot topic for many listeners. So, like you mentioned, sales is one of the highest earning professions, but we also know that there are many people who, they get into sales and they
Mhm.
flunk out for a variety of reasons. And now,
Mhm.
so you yourself in the job you're working, you're literally consulting and helping to train salespeople and helping to train business owners. So, what have you seen been some of the different differentiating factors between someone who is a top producer and high income earner versus those who fail at the business for whatever the case may be?
Oh, great question. Yeah, great question, man. Yeah, you're good at this, man. You're good at this. Um, Showing up consistently with a positive attitude, because I've met a lot of people that I've worked alongside, many people I've met through my journey I've been in the B2B world. I've sold a lot of things, like you said, the cell phones, but most of my um, career I've been in business to business sales, where I've worked with business owners in different capacities and industries. And I've seen many of clients become incredibly successful, and many fail, for various reasons. And just along my journey, I think that the number one thing I've seen is those that are successful show up consistently with a positive attitude, because I've come across a lot of people that are incredibly talented, driven, motivated. Some people that look like freaking supermodels, man. You know what I mean? Like just awesome all around people that you think they got it. They got the sauce, man. They got the genes. They were blessed by God. They're lucky, man. They got it, but they don't, because they
Mm,
don't show up consistently with a positive attitude. They lack emotional control, right? So you have a bad day, you have a bad week, you have a bad month, you have a bad sales call. Your boyfriend dumped you, girlfriend cheated on you, this or that. I mean, hey, I get it, man. Bad things happen in life, right? Um, we've both lost people close to us. We both have things happen to us in our lives. I mean, you know, things that are hard to go through, right? So I'm very, sensitive to, there are real life emergencies and problems and issues that happen. But I just mean like in the day to day sense, right? Is just being able to control your emotions and still be positive, even when you're upset, even when you're sad, even when you're tired, even when the call didn't go the way that you expected, even when things don't seem to go your way, right? When things outside of your control take place, right? It's just being grounded and showing up and being optimistic and positive that, well, things will get better because I'm going to do better, because I'm going to get better, right? Because I'm going to do more, because I'm going to provide more, because I'm going to learn more, right? Because I'm not going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm optimistic that, even when I was broke, that I was going to get through it, and that I would just keep knocking on doors and making more calls until I did it. So that's the number one thing that I've seen, because I've seen people that have had all these other variables of success that you would look at somebody from the outside and say, man, they could be a billionaire, but it's showing up consistently with a positive attitude and mindset that I've seen ordinary people, I would say like myself, ultimately do extraordinary things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this over and over and over again in sales and business. It's just showing up.
Mm-hmm. Just showing up. And like you said, with the positive and optimistic mindset. And I think that that aspect is one of the most difficult, right? Because when you go through a circumstance where maybe things didn't go according to your plan, it's easy to say, well, I'm just not going to try because it's not going to work out for me. And like you mentioned, you can see that maybe someone is that one of the haves and you might see yourself as a have not. So why even try? But
Mhm.
the only way you can truly lose is if you stop trying, because there have been countless examples of entrepreneurs being on the verge of bankruptcy. Even Phil Knight, the creator of Nike, at one point his his financial institution, his bank, literally called the FBI on him because they thought he was being fraudulent. And in his book, if anyone listening ever reads it, you see that he went through some very, very tough times, and all while he was married with kids. And yet he persisted, and look where he's at now. But had he given up, he wouldn't have even had the opportunity. So what you're saying, Mike, I completely agree with. And I think if you look around, you can see it all around, especially if you're looking at it from the perspective of, let me see the winners who have gone through some things, right? Because we all see the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, everyone who's a billionaire, who's rich, and who has done all these great things. But we don't, there not many people look back to see, well, what do they go through to get there? Oftentimes, if you see what happens, Amazon's valuation dropping over 80% and Jeff Bezos' net worth thus subsequently dropping as well, when you see those stories, for me at least, it makes them seem much more human and makes my goals seem that much more attainable. But not everyone has this mindset and this perspective. And I'm of the personal opinion that it can be developed. But I would love to propose a question to you, since you have seen more of these people in different contexts. How would you say, well, one, assuming you believe that it can be developed, that this positive mindset can be built,
Mhm.
how would you recommend someone to go about that, to shifting their mindset from, woe is me, I can't do this, to maybe there's a chance?
Yeah. So 100%. I believe it's usually always developed. I think that it's not such a natural and innate type of frame of mind to be in. Very select few amount of people, and it's very much the way you're brought up and conditioned and raised. And I don't think that most people, um, I certainly didn't, grow up with that type of mentality. It is something that is developed and nurtured and cultivated and exercised, just like the body, right? So just like you would train your muscles in different ways, right? You do chest day and back day, or maybe you do a sport or CrossFit, right? You jog around the block. You train your muscles in different ways, right? Stay in optimal shape. Just like with your mindset, I believe it's very much like a muscle that must be developed, right? Must be developed, and you do so by what you consume, right? And
Mm,
and that could, and what you consume can be translated into different um, parts of life, right? So very much could be like content, sure, like this. Like if you're watching this, you're in good shape, all right. If you're following Josue, you're definitely in good shape, all right. Like you're following some great people, and following people that are successful, that are positive, that are making changes, making an impact. People that are delivering valuable type of information to you in your field, in your life, right? Specifically, if we're talking about developing a positive mindset, man, there's a ton of great content out there, right? I mean, just to search it. I mean, there's nothing I think it's powerful. I don't even say there's nothing wrong. Certainly nothing embarrassing or humiliating. I find content like Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. These are amongst some of my most favorite um, personal development educators in the space. I look at that as more entertaining to me than watching Netflix. Like, hey, I love a good movie, I love a good show, but countless times I've actually knocked out just watching episode of episode, laughing and crying and taking notes and listening, coming up with ideas of listening to like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, right? Like, I'm a huge Gary V fan. So it's very much what you consume. What are you putting in your brain, right? So the content you consume, the books that you read, right? Books. So there's many great books out there, like The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Specifically in this world of sales, I love Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. We got Grant Cardone, right? We got the 10x rule. In fact, yeah, we got the Jordan Belfort book. We got the 10x rule right there. Amazing sales content and motivational. Tony Robbins for sure, right? Tony, I was just
Mm-hmm.
listening to 2 hours of Tony here on the Sunday before we jumped on the live stream, just hanging out. So what you consume, all right, is going to be a big part of that, of how to cultivate and develop that type of mindset, right? Just the information that you're absorbing all the time. And then, of course, the people that you're around, right?
Mm.
I mean, that could be the bigger, even contributing factor in force. And yeah, man, it's difficult sometimes to find people that share the same type of values and mindsets that we do, right?
It is 110%. It is, but it's so important, to surround yourself with not only people who have the same type of mentality, but also, like you said, content. And I'm of the opinion and of the belief that you can do so by being very intentional. Like you mentioned, seeking out these different resources. I'll probably go ahead and put some links below afterwards of, some people you mentioned, such as Jim Rohn, Gary Vaynerchuk, good old Tony Robbins. These people will help you to develop, as Katie says, PMA, positive mental attitude.
I
And
like that. I like that. Good one, Katie.
yeah, Katie, we may have to trademark that one.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I have two ideas for everybody just in that regard. I think that just came to the top of my mind if we have time to share them. But
Hmm.
um, how to find people like this. We've come across amazing people. Just a lot of what like life and sales is about. We were just talking about this before we went on here. Irons in the fire, right? Talking to a lot of people, having a lot of activity and proactivity to build up a pipeline of a lot of opportunity around you, no matter what you do, right? How you help a lot of people. I'm sure you hone in on your skill set, right? You become an expert at what you do, but you need to talk to a lot of people to help a lot of people, right? I could be the best loan officer in the world, right? Like my clients, but if I'm not talking to a lot of people about loans, I'm not really going to help a lot of people. I'm not going to make a lot of money, right? I could be the best realtor in the world, the best financial advisor. I can make the best damn pizza in the United States. If nobody knows I exist, I'm not selling any pizza. We're going home broke soon, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, you have to have a lot of conversations and deploy a lot of communication out in the world, right? Like outflow is inflow. I believe it's one of Sir Isaac Newton's laws, right? Cause and effect. That
Hmm.
every action has an opposite and equivalent reaction, right? It's cause and effect. So outflow does equal inflow, right? The more people you communicate with, then the more people that end up ultimately communicating with you to help, right? So one great way that you and I have developed such a strong network of like-minded people is by attending regular meetups, right?
Hmm.
And we went to a lot of meetups. We met a lot of people. Me and you have met what would fair to say over 1,000 people in the last year?
Yes,
Would you say
definitely.
1,000 people? Maybe like I hope not all 1,000 are watching because maybe like maybe well, no, hear me out. 10 to 20 are like have the same similar mindset and goals, right? Not to say there's nothing wrong with anybody else's goals and not to say they should share the same, right? But in what we're talking about today here on your show, on this podcast, this topic of building, amazing lifestyle and income through sales and business and entrepreneurship, there's like maybe 10 or 20 people that we met out of like 1,000 that match that description. Now, those 10 or 20 people, dude, this is a serious network now. We have 10
Hmm.
to 20 really close, powerful friends in different industries that we've been able to attract towards us and to meet through hosting our own and going to meetups, meetup.com. There's an app. We could do a whole class on that sometime, man. But,
Hmm.
look up a meetup in your area and don't go to just one. All right. We went to I want to say hundreds, but like dozens of these things at least, right? We went to dozens. So definitely keep going. But there are certainly amazing people that you can meet And certainly by the nature of the law of averages, by meeting a lot of people, you will certainly meet plenty of people like we have that match and align with your goals. And I do have another idea with that, but what are your thoughts on the whole meetup thing?
So I think that's 110% accurate. And something else too that, like I mentioned before, I'm a huge advocate for taking accountability and control of your life. So if you say to yourself, let's say you're in a brand new city, you have no friends, you want to find more like-minded people, well, the internet's a great tool, a great resource. We have a whole channel here about mindset and business, but there are additionally local, like you mentioned, meetup groups or different groups and industries in your zip code that are business oriented, that are positive mindset oriented. Meditation is a great way to find. That's a great resource because a lot of people who meditate tend to be more conscientious of their thoughts, their mindset, etc. So you can surround yourself by really good people who are focused on enhancing themselves and those around them by simply actively seeking it out. And I hope that Michael and I just gave some good resources for anyone watching or listening, both live or on the replay. And you mentioned you had another thing
Yeah, I got
to
another
mention,
killer
Mike.
one. I got a killer one. All right, so, woo, all right. I don't know if I should share this one. All right, so I'm going to tell them about the 7 a.m. meeting. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was
Okay.
powerful.
Okay. So for a good while, as Josue and I built our network and our event business, we decided to do a daily meeting Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. on FaceTime. And we did this it was a quick meeting, like 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes we spoke for half an hour if we had the time. Sometimes
Hmm.
it was 11 minutes, just depending on the day. But every morning, I mean, this is going on for like, we did this for months and months. 7 a.m. we got together one-on-one and we just chatted about goals and life and business and plans, and we held each other accountable. And did you read those pages, and did you make those calls, and did you knock on those doors, and did you submit that file, and like all those things. And at some point we started telling our friends about it, right? And I don't even know if we invited them, but as we started talking about it more, some of our friends that are also in business, like Gabe, Rob, who I know you had on the show, right?
Hmm.
Shout out to Rob Rogers, Yvette, Drew, of course, right?
Hmm.
We had a great gang of people joining us every morning, 7 a.m. on FaceTime, and we would go around and just in a circle, like Brady Bunch style, and just say on FaceTime, like, "Hey, what you got going on today? What do you need help with? Do you need help being accountable to anything?" And it was some of the most impactful, powerful stuff that we did all throughout the year. It's something I'm looking forward to getting back to doing,
Hmm.
sometime here soon, but man, I could tell you for all of us, it was really exciting. And I mean, we were all up early. Some of us, I remember doing it from bed a couple of times, right? But we'd be
Yeah.
up, remember we'd be walking around the block, and Gabe would be on his bike, and it was just awesome. So that's just another step forward of an action item that you could do along with Meetup, and maybe even with your current group, perhaps friends that you, colleagues, peers, friends from back home or school or in your business or work, right? In your industry that you want to connect with on a weekly. I mean, we did it on a daily basis, and I think that's
Hmm.
what worked best. But connecting consistently on Zoom or FaceTime, just to mastermind, just to help each other and to provide value and to network could be another very powerful way to cultivate that mindset. Those would be my two best tips when it comes to working on these things. But it is like an exercise. It is a muscle. It is something that absolutely is developed and trained and worked on. It's certainly not something left to chance or circumstance, or you got it or you don't, or it's just the way that you were raised. I believe that
Hmm.
we can only control what we can control, and we have the responsibility for building our bodies and putting ourselves into optimal shape and health and mindset, right? And that comes with what you consume, what you absorb, and the people you surround yourself with.
110%. And for everyone listening, both live as well as on the replay, Caitlin Simmons said it best. Execution is everything. So
Yes,
yeah, you took the first step by coming here, listening to this point, in the podcast. But go ahead and take some of these action items and apply it to your life. Go try to find someone, a meditation group. Go try to find a meetup group in your area. Try to find or reach out to your network of friends and say, hey, do you guys want to start a mastermind? Maybe we'll start a book club. Because if you don't have it in your zip code, you can be the person that creates it, because agency does exist and you can go ahead and make your life even better than it already is. And I want to go ahead and encourage you guys with that. So,
100%.
for, we're talking about things that are maybe very inspirational, so when in the concept of behavioral science and behavioral studies, inspiration is like a bolt of lightning. There was one event that happened that changed you, and now you want to start a new pursuit. You had near death experience, now you want to be a bit closer with your family. Something happened and now you are inspired. But let's talk about motivation. So Mike, in your experience, what have you found that motivates salespeople the most, the successful ones?
It's a great question because it's certainly not one answer. People are very much motivated differently, and this is shown through personality tests like the DISC assessment, the DISC test. I think you can even take a free one through Tony Robbins' website if you Google that, the DISC profile assessment. Something that we talk a lot about in our coaching program. And dude, this thing is spooky, crazy, accurate. Have you done one yet?
Yeah, I have. It's been a while, but I did one.
Yeah, man, dude, I'm blown away. I mean, I thought it was some like BS I had to do before I interviewed for the role I'm in years back. And man, when I met the leaders of my company and they know this stuff, they're DISC certified. They read me like a book, right? They knew me
Mm,
inside and out before I even walked through that door. And this thing is really accurate, and it will show you that people are motivated by different things. Now, there's different types of. I think that to a certain degree, innately, we're all motivated by different types of power and freedom, right? Namely, there's a few. Maybe there's more than what I can think of or know, but there's namely like 3 or 4 different types of freedom or power that you can possess, right? Like for example, I mean financial. I mean that's an obvious one, right? Is of course is the financial aspect of being in sales and business and having a limitless, capless, or large opportunity to make 6 figures, 7 figures, more, right? Depending on the business that you're in, that can be a motivating factor to simply. And sometimes it's materialistic. Sometimes when I ask people why they want to make $10 million, $50 million, $100 million, $1 billion, they don't even know why. It's just like
mm,
it's like they want to prove it to themselves that they can, or prove to the world or to somebody that they can, right? And it's like, well, money's just the metric, right? And so that's a very real motivating factor, right? Is financial freedom, right? The ability to purchase businesses, assets, leverage other people's time, and um, be able to buy what you want and do what you want, right? So in one real sense, it's very much financial, right? That's one type of freedom. But there's
mm-hmm,
other types of freedom, right? Like freedom of time, for example. And you can leverage that by being in sales and or business, right? Now that's typically going to come through, it could come through, hey, you're commission only, you set your own schedule. If you want to work 2-3 days a week and still make a great living, like a 6 figure income, and you can, awesome, right? Good for you, right? That might be very real for some people. In the other sense, I think in most cases, it comes from building a team, right? From leveraging
mm,
support, right? So I could give you a few classic examples, but let's say, um, mm, I mean, we could even use a doctor as an example, right? Like as a doctor builds their medical practice, they can hire more nurses and assistants and people running the front desk, thus seeing more patients in less time, making more money, and perhaps even taking some days off, right? You'll see some
mm-hmm.
chiropractors that make 70 grand a year and work 80 hours a week. And you'll see some chiropractors that make $1.5 million a year and they work 30 hours a week. They have a team of other chiropractors and specialists and assistants in the office that can carry on work. They could, I mean, one person could own 7 different chiropractic offices. How could you possibly perform at 7 different places at once? It's because you're leveraging other people's time, right? Just like when my father was on here talking about how he wanted to scale his restaurant business and own 40 different businesses. He can't physically be in 40 different restaurants. He has to have 40 different operating managers and busboys and chefs and assistants, right? So in business and in sales, right? So, and for example, in what I do, right, in our coaching business, we have an amazing team. We have an amazing team of customer support and of coaches and billing department and IT specialists and marketing and managers and people answering the phone and people sending out packages. We have people calling lists of people to get on our calendar. So I was just gone in Europe for 2 weeks. Dude, it was a blessing, man. I don't have to worry about a thing. I was over there
Mm-hmm.
in London, Ireland, bopping around Europe. I'm not taking any calls. My emails are being handled. Clients are taken care of. I just came back with more appointments on the calendar ready to rock and roll, right? So that's an example of time freedom, right? So that's another type of freedom. And I think very real motivating factor for people that may feel stuck in like, that 9 to 5 rut or more. Ironically, often in sales, especially when you're starting out, you'll work way more hours than that, right? It takes time to build up the type of pipeline and business to where then you can hire help, or your company will provide you that type of assistance, perhaps, where you're profitable enough to have a team, the Josue team, right, of people to back you up, so you can have that time, ironically. But
Mm-hmm.
it just takes time and effort and to build that business up, and then you can certainly experience time freedom, right? So I think that's another motivating factor, right?
Mm-hmm. I would
One is
agree.
finances, the other one's time.
And they're both valuable. And I think what you did a really great job of is talking about the different types of freedom and the different types of motivating factors, right? And how throughout your career they can change. And I think that's one thing that everyone listening should be mindful of, is that as you go through business life, your circumstances may change. Maybe when you're young in your 20s, maybe you're single with no kids, and your primary motivating factor is just income, 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 income. Well, after you have your first child, or perhaps your spouse or partner, maybe your desire is more stability. You want to have a floor for your income where you can go ahead and make sure your loved ones are taken care of. And I think one of the things that is super beautiful about the mind than your is that it's flexible. So you're able to change your perspective on what you're doing or what you're aspiring to do to keep you motivated throughout that process. So perhaps when you're single, maybe your motivation is just financial. So yeah, that's one way. I want to have a Bugatti, a Lamborghini. I want to flex. All right, that's if that works for you, it works for you. But you can also view it in the perspective of, hey, I want to work hard now, make the income so that later on in my career, I can have more freedom of time to spend with my loved ones because I see my life going a certain way. So just being aware that you have that choice in how you perceive, your situation, so you can motivate yourself properly, is something that I think the listeners, will definitely value from. So thank you for talking about that and describing how different people can, because sales does provide freedom. So that was a really good job of, describing it. And also you touched on a bit of a foreshadowing for our next episode when we talk again. But next time I have you on here, Mike, I would love to have you discuss, more in depth. So we talk about mindset first, and then how can we go ahead and set up systems and strategies in place. But we'll come back to that on a different episode if you would be open to sharing some of that.
I love to, man. I love it. I love it. Yeah,
Heck
those are
yeah.
two big ones there. I mean, I think there's several other things, but um, finances, time, maybe freedom of location. I think that goes along with time, but perhaps the ability to do sales or business from wherever you want, right? In the country, different countries, go overseas, the ability to work remote is a very strong motivating factor for many people. I
Mm-hmm.
think also freedom of stress, in the sense of sales can be incredibly stressful, like you mentioned earlier, but especially when you have your systems dialed in, when you're backed by a great team and company and you have awesome support, when you're very much just tasked with just selling, sure, it could be emotional. I mean, the highs and the lows of like having good months and bad months or weeks or days and conversations, sure, absolutely. But if you're somebody that likes people, likes helping, right? Like, I can't even imagine doing anything else. I think that I would be, I absolutely love what I do. So to me, it gives me a freedom of stress because it's so enjoyable. Um, helping other business owners and helping people achieve their goals and helping them solve their problems and being useful and valuable and making such a great income at it that I can't imagine working a job doing anything else. So to me, being able to do something in my line of work, we call this, my boss Carl calls this the triad of awesomeness, right? Things
Mm-hmm.
that you like to do, that you're good at, and that make you a lot of money. The triad of awesomeness, right? You're good at, you like to do it, makes you a lot of money. So I think that's another big motivating factor for a lot of sales reps, is being able to do that, something that they're good at, that they like to do, and that makes them money. And I think a lot of people that I look at that are great salesmen, I can't actually even picture doing anything else, so it's very much like just a great fit for the role.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm gonna have to make sure we get a good clip of that, because yeah, finding your personal triad is of supreme importance. And the thing is too, it could be in different industries. So I think you did a good job of ferreting that out. And guys, if you're watching this live, or if you're watching the replay, go ahead and make sure you smash that like button and caress the subscribe button. Go ahead and get this up to more good people. So with that being said, we're about 35 minutes in here, so we're gonna go ahead and pivot real quick to some of the questions from
Uh-oh.
social media.
Uh-oh.
So, and also, guys, we have a special batch of questions at the end. We're gonna go ahead and make things a bit more lighthearted at the end. It may involve cookies. All right. So,
All right. Let's see what you got, man. Okay.
so Sally asked, what is the proper sales mindset? So she may have. So actually, that was actually answered earlier on. So
Yeah,
these are some
that's a
questions
great
for my
question.
Instagram.
Yeah.
But if you want to touch on it again, maybe like in a different way.
Just going back to that serving, helping, providing value mindset, right? The more people that you help, the more money that you make. The more problems you solve, the more money you make. This is all about providing value and helping people. Bottom line, right? There's a lot of factors that go into sales, right? Like having a relationship and people knowing you and liking you and trusting you. You'll hear that a lot in sales: know, like, and trust. Great. You have to be able to help somebody, right? There's a
Mm,
lot of people that I like. There's a lot of people that I trust. There's a lot of people that I know. But can they help me? Right? Like, are you going to be able to help me? I'm not just going to give you money because I know you and I like you and I trust you. Yes, yes, all those things are so important for me to be able to write that check. But how can you help me? Right? That's what matters most, right? I think for you, for me, for everybody here that's listening, right? Isn't that the bottom line? Right? What can we do for each other? This is exchange goods and services and help and value, knowledge, whatever it may be. So that's the type of attitude and mindset to have towards it. It's how can you find yourself in a field, if you're not already, right, in a field that you enjoy, that really can make an impact in helping the type of people and the people that you want to help, at the end of the day.
mhm. I love that. Just a mindset of servitude. Something that I want to go ahead and just like touch on it super, super quick is I think also the mindset of success. I think that for myself, when I was first coming into sales, I was in science, which has been historically touted to be the worst industry to come from because you go from left brain and very mathematics and science and data to talking to people and being a person. So it was like day and night switching for me. But what I had a great mentor, and Mike also was when I was first getting into it, was telling me these things too. Like you have to go in assuming the sale, assuming the person wants to talk to you, that they're gonna be happy to see you, and that makes a world of difference. And for myself, when I was first coming up, that really did help. And I think Mike, that perspective you just talked about, that how can I help this person? It automatically makes you more assumptive because of course the person wants to be helped. So guys, listening live on the replay, Mike's dropping some gems. So if you
I've got more, man. Look, I think that's great. Let's take the whole thing a big step further, because I want to take this places that I think we don't often see people going to. If
Mhm.
that's cool,
Yeah.
take it super deep. All right. So talking about like assuming the sale, 100% agree. Something I've been thinking a lot about recently. So you have to have that mentality, right? It gives you, when you assume something, it gives you confidence to do it, right? Because you have more certainty, right? That's why it would be easier for me to call you than somebody I don't know, because I'm more certain in the way that you're going to react to that phone call. I'm more certain in how it's going to be received, right? And what's going to happen, rather than somebody I don't know at all. Hey, I'll make either call, but the call to you is far easier because there's a much higher level of certainty. So when you can assume something, right? If I assume that somebody I don't know is going to respond to me just as well as you would, it gives me more confidence in doing so, right? So it is important to assume in sales and business because it gives you confidence to take action and to come across congruently with that. But I have this mindset of, I have very strong intentions, and that goes along with the assumptions. Very strong intentions, good intentions, strong ones, but no expectations,
Mm.
right? And this is something that's helped me stay positive in sales, right? Because with every conversation that I have, I truly intend on helping as much as I can. I absolutely, with every fiber of my being and every chromosome, I have every intention of helping this person and turning them into a client and building a relationship with them, because our product and our service changes lives. And this has been proven over and over again, countless times, right? It changed my life. It changed my family's life. It changed my mother's life, right? So I have every intention of turning everybody I talk to into a client for the good of the world, but I don't expect to, right? Because I can only control what I can control. I can't control somebody else's debts and obligations and duties and responsibilities and fears and reluctance and problems and issues and negativity, or whatever it may be, good, bad, and ugly. There are so many things outside of this world I can't control. I can't control what somebody else thinks. I can't control how somebody else reacts. I can only control what I think and what I react, right? So I have every intention, right, of I have every intent, and this is just a great way, just like, let's say we were playing baseball. I have every intention of hitting a home run, So you know what? I can't necessarily expect to, right? But I'm going to do my best. And I'm happy with myself as long as I'm doing my best. That's it. Because that's all I could do. I couldn't have done better. In no world could I have done better because I did my best. So I don't know. I can only control what I can control. And I'm okay with that, right? And I'm continuously trying to improve myself and sharpen my sword and improve my style and the way that I do my business and life. But I can only do the best that I can, man. So that's why I have very strong intentions, and that comes with along with what you were saying about like assuming the sale, but I don't expect to, and that's what keeps me grounded and happy and positive and optimistic, and that way I never get too bummed in this business. All right, I don't know. That's just my viewpoint on it. Intentions, no expectations.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. I think that's super, super powerful. Like you said, Sally, you got a really great answer. That like this is some good meat and potatoes for you. We're not going just surface level here, but yeah, like you said, like that dichotomy, right? How do I
Yes.
go in and expect and assume it's gonna go great, but if it doesn't, because of any reason, heck, the phone could their phone could. Then this has happened to me. Their phone could die as you're closing them, and that can happen. But you can still, but to still be able to persist, and you might call them back for days and don't pick up. I'm looking at you, Timothy, but but being able to persist and still have a optimistic mindset throughout is of the utmost importance because not everyone will say yes, and it may not be your fault, and maybe you messed up, maybe it is your fault, but still being able to persist despite that, like you said, Mike, showing up consistently with a positive and optimistic outlook is of the is that's the only way you're going to be successful. Period. So we're talking about all these things, and I think this next question is a good dovetail into, enhancing your mindset and growing. So Steve asks, how to find a good mentor.
It's a good question. So when looking for a mentor, you want to find somebody that's gone to where you want to be, right? That's actively doing it or has done it, before, preferably recently, right? But you want to go find somebody who's an expert in their field. And with the internet, there's so many people that are not necessarily experts is what they do, but they put out content and may copy other people, or maybe they're getting started at it. And they may put out good advice. That's all great. I would recommend you find somebody who's really in the trenches that does what you do, right? Like, for example, our coaching program, right? Because that's what people do. It's a very relative question just in the line of work that I'm in, right? Because people work with us to be their mentor and their coach. Everything that we teach is predicated on what our leader, Carl White, does in his mortgage branches, right? Carl runs a team of 103 loan originators that did almost $2 billion in volume. They're one of the most successful mortgage branches in the entire nation. He has a proven, trackable, measurable, duplicatable system of generating referrals, right? Some of tactics I've taught you that you've deployed in your insurance business that's generated referrals, right? So by doing so, that's why people turn to us for help. That's why people pay us good money and work with us, because what we teach is what we do in his mortgage business, right? It's what my mom does. When she does it, she helps a lot more families and makes way more money. And when she doesn't, right? So I think, Steve, that's how I would find a good mentor. Is find people in your field that are doing it, right? So find those sources. Social media is going to be a great way to use it. Use Facebook, use Instagram, use YouTube, just like this platform here. Use Twitter, use Facebook groups can be incredibly helpful. I'll have a lot of people recommended to us that say that plenty of people mentioned us in a Facebook group because they were asking around, right? But go find people that are doing what you want to do and see if, this could be in the line of working with them, right? Of aligning yourself to maybe be their assistant or their junior or hop on their team or paying them for coaching or consulting services. I'm a big fan of a very certain type of mentorship model, very much like what we do with the mortgage marketing animals. And I've done this in different areas of my life where I'll have a coach and then a group, a mastermind group that's attached to that platform, right? That way I'm taking advice from the leader and the expert and the professional that I want to emulate. At the same time, I'm in a group with other students and people that are doing this program just like me. They're starting out, ones that have done it for a long time, ones that are really successful at this. So I can pick their brains and learn from their mistakes and from their wins and have motivation and inspiration. Example of this is like the investing group. I'm a big fan of Mark Moss. So I'm a part of his investing platform to help me allocate where to put additional funds, right? Whether that's stocks or crypto or gold or silver or real estate or, whatever it may be, right? There's a lot of different things that he'll recommend. and I follow that platform, but there's also a mastermind group attached with that. And they're always asking questions, going back and forth. They've answered my questions. He does events all the time where I got to meet some of the other folks in the program. That's one of my favorite types of model, almost like my boxing, right? So, I have a boxing coach. Shout out to Coach Pete. But there's also group training, right? And that's when I train with other coaches and I spar other guys, but I still work out with Pete twice a week. I'm a big fan of that model, finding somebody like Pete who's a pro at what he does to work with one-on-one, but also being a part of a group on that same platform to learn from other people doing what you want to be doing at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And Steve, just to give you some extra soy sauce, first of all, I want to commend Mike for talking about having someone that's experienced because, by definition, like he said, there's so many people nowadays that are saying like, sign up for my coaching. They've been doing it for like a year, but you want to find someone that has been doing it for a long time to have seen the ups and downs. If you're in finance, they've been through bull markets and through bear markets. And like he said, they have duplicatable systems. And also to go ahead and to piggyback off even more about outreach, and hopefully this may motivate you to do it, you would be surprised how powerful LinkedIn is. I was able to get in touch with people from billion-dollar unicorn companies through LinkedIn and actually have had several phone calls with them. And additionally, Gary Vaynerchuk, if you don't know him, he's his company, VaynerMedia, is nigh evaluated at $1 billion. And someone cold DM'd him on Instagram. And 2 weeks later, he responded, hooked him up with his personal assistant, and a month later, he was in New York in his headquarters having a meeting with him off of one cold DM. So you never know. You may be one cold DM away from talking to someone with 30 years of experience who has built something massive and great that could be your personal mentor and help you. And also keep in mind, when you're working, mentors are also looking for good proteges, which is not always easy to find. So I also want to encourage you about that. So you also have value by just being able to be there and showing up. So hopefully, hope that helps, Steve.
Great question, Steve. And
Oh
sorry,
yeah.
you popped away on my screen, just I can hear you okay, but
Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and try to
um,
fix that. But we have another question. We have
cool.
one from Ashley. This is a great one, especially with what's behind you, Mike. Ashley asks, "What books do you recommend a salesperson to read?"
Great question. Yeah, my all-time favorite sales book, outside of, hey, there's so many great aspects of sales that can help, like learning about relationships and communication and human behavioral psychology and persuasion and influence, and motivation, right? Personal development. There's so many different types of books and genres that will really so much help your sales career. But in terms of actual like learning practical and tactful and strategic sales advice, I do think that Jordan Belfort's Way of the Wolf I have behind me is the absolute best sales book I've ever read. I've read a few dozen sales books, so I think it's certainly one of the best ones. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, that's a really great book as well. It's very much, it's a philosophy that I come back to from time to time. I think a lot of where my mind's at right now. So it's appropriate time to be thinking about the book. I think those two together would be incredibly valuable to read, right? Where the Way of the Wolf is very, very niche and very specific on how to sell. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, if you're unfamiliar with it, is great about thinking bigger and the type of effort that goes into becoming successful in sales. And those two books together, I think made a major impact on me. And that's a big part of this too. It's not just your skill set, which is so important, right? So important to sharpen your sword and to improve your skills. You can absolutely develop these types of skills to increase your conversion 2, 3, 4, 10 times, and make more money from less leads, make more profit from less conversations. Certainly, right? But there's a very real aspect of doing more, right? And that's where my mind's at right now is irons in the fire, especially when you're in a funk or if you're starting off in sales or business. Man, we'll improve as we do this with experience, with training, with time, right? Of course, we'll work on that daily to convert better, to become a better salesman. But especially if you're getting started and or in a funk, the most important thing to do is just get irons in the fire. Activity, so much proactivity that you just can't fail. Even if you sucked, you couldn't fail because you had 100 people in your pipeline. You had 100 opportunities of people interested in potentially working with you, that even if 10% of them did, you're still making great money. You're still helping a lot of people. You're still building your business. You're still making progress, right? I mean, I could be the best salesman in the world, let's just say. And let's say that you listening right now are just getting started and we're selling the same product, like life insurance. But if I talk to 10 people and you talk to 250, you're going to blow me out the water every time, right? Outflow equals inflow, right? It's that law of cause and effect we talked about earlier, right? I could have the best pizza here in St. Petersburg, Florida, but if nobody knows I exist, if not advertising and promoting, if I'm not getting attention and eyeballs, if there's not conversations about my pizzeria, I'm not going to have a pizzeria much longer. So irons in the fire, right? That's a big topic on my mind right now, is just working up that pipeline, just getting back to prospecting, rolling up the sleeves, having tons of conversations. Very much like you were saying a second ago, maybe you're one cold DM away from, meeting somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, but how you get that one is certainly not you don't just send one. You're not just going to send one DM to anybody and hit your big shot. You're going to send like 1,000 cold DMs and one of them, right? You are one away. It's probably like out of the next 1,000 that you send, right? I mean, me and you both have sent thousands of messages, hundreds of thousands of emails, hundreds of thousands of phone calls, thousands of doors and businesses that I've walked into, right? To be able to help a lot of people and become successful in the fields that I was in, right? So it's both of those things that I think that what makes somebody so successful in sales. I know a lot of the questions have been geared around that, towards like the sales mindset. It very much is two very important things. There's two levers here. There's your skill set, right? Your skill set. And then there's your mindset. Both are important. One without the other is nothing, right? I mean, hey, if you have the right mindset, you can stick in there longer. You can be sustainable. You can hang in there to gain the skill set to become successful, right? But one without the other, I mean, if you just stayed happy and positive, you never conjured your skills, then you're still not going to help a lot of people, right? So both are important. Skill set and mindset together are the key to massive success in this business.
Perfectly said. Skill set and mindset, the peanut butter and jelly success. Perfect pairing.
I like that.
Just came up on the fly. I need to trademark that. We have so many trademarks on this episode. It's amazing. So on that note of, different trademarks, I think one of the future trademarks of this show is going to be what I'm going to call the cookie question, which was when I was applying for an honor society back in college, a question they gave me, and I loved it. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to you now. Sure. So Michael, if you had to be, and this is just a portion where we're just going to be like more like, lighthearted a little bit. If you had to be a cookie, or if you were a cookie, excuse me, what cookie would you be and why?
I'd be a cookie that no one has ever experienced before. It would be sweet. It'd be sour. It'd be salty. It'd be savory. It'd probably have bacon in there.
Oh,
probably
man.
wouldn't look so good, but it would just taste delicious. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It would be like maybe like a Sicilian cheesecake, but in cookie formation.
Okay.
Yeah,
that sounds a lot better than bacon.
Yeah. It'd be something they've never tried before, for sure.
Perfect. I like Google Sicilian cheesecake in a cookie form. Like there's a thing for it.
yeah, right. My face is there.
Right. So another one, just one last one before we go. On a personal level, so we're talking all this stuff about business mindset. We're going hard. So but when you take off, end of the day, kicking your feet up, what do you do to relax? Like, how do you de-stress and disconnect from it all?
Yeah. So when I'm not in the office, I spend a lot of time, here, I just think we live in the best place in the world. I love living here so much, St. Petersburg, Florida. So we spend a lot of time at the beach, spend a lot of time downtown, not too far from either one of those. And a lot of time with friends and family, as much time as I can. I try to keep things fun and eventful, and fortunate to be in a great business with a great balance to it, so I don't feel too burnt out ever. Things are fun. I love what I do, and outside of doing that, because it's something I'm truly really passionate about, I'm looking forward to doing for the rest of my life. Just spend a lot of time, three things. Usually I'm either downtown, usually hanging with you and the crew. I'm at the beach. I go to the beach by myself a lot, right? I read and write at the beach, and I probably go to the beach more by myself than with anybody. And I got into boxing a good while ago, maybe not a year ago, but I do coach with Pete twice a week and do other trainings. I had a really big fight this weekend. I don't know if I told you about that, but I had my first like real fight. It was cool. So
Mhm.
boxing has been super fun for me too. So yeah, those things for the most part.
Nice. That's a good balance and a good assortment. So got a bit of downtown, got a bit of beach, and got a bit of beating people up. I'm surprised I was going to say that, but yeah, that's fire. So Mike, thank you so much once again for being on the show. I think this was our longest episode, but it definitely did not feel that way, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. We have a brand new record, but before we go ahead and go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask. Is there anything that you want to say to the listeners, both live or on the replay, or someone who may see a TikTok and just come and check us out? If you could leave them with one final thing, what would it
Yeah.
be?
Well, okay. I've got something, but I have a question for you first.
Okay.
What type of cookie would you be?
Oh man, what type of cookie would I be? I would say
Yeah,
oatmeal
you always
raisin.
ask everybody what cookie they be. No one asks you what cookie you be.
No one's ever thought to ask. I would be oatmeal raisin. Why? Because it's delicious. It's crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside, and it's underrated. Not many people at first they're like oatmeal raisin. I don't know about that. I think my grandma likes that, but I don't know if I'll like that. But when they have it, they're like, man, this is one of the best cookies I've ever had, especially with milk. That's me.
Oh, I love you, man. Oh, that was good. That was good. That was good. All right. So, I mean, just lastly, I think this could be a whole nother topic in itself, different episode, different day and time. But a big part of what I am very passionate about and love to help people do in their business, I think personally, professionally, is helping people find happiness in what they do, and I think that it's an important topic. If you look at statistics on, human behavioral psychology, if you look at statistics on like, depression and suicide, oftentimes entrepreneurs, salesmen, business owners can make up a strong percentage of the people that feel that way and do. And I think because as salesmen and entrepreneurs and business owners, oftentimes I find that we get into these roles because we have these really big goals, right? And when we attain them, there's always another mountain, right? There's always more. That's awesome. That's the journey of life. That's what is supposed to be fun and exciting about it, right? But when you are always, it very much bubbles down to how you measure success. And I think that's what I would leave us with today, right? I'm going to leave everybody with an actionable item, right? Something that we can all do together to start improving our mindset and being happier and helping more people, right? But it very much bubbles down to how you measure success. And if you're always measuring success by the gap of where you are today versus where you want to be, then you'll never be happy, right? Because there's always another mountain to climb. There will always be another thing. Just like astronauts. I don't know if you ever heard that, but I heard that astronauts, there's a very high level of like sadness and depression and related issues when they go on a big mission they've been training for years, and then they do it, it's over. It's like, all right, well, what's
What's
next?
next?
That's why you don't see these celebrities and rock stars and people you would never imagine, right? They're so depressed. It's so sad to see. And happiness is something that I like to focus on myself, because I think happiness as well is something that you focus on and you can exercise and develop and build. I feel like, I've always been happy, and it's still something that I continue to work on and improve, right? Because life is hard, right? There's a lot of things like we talked about earlier that are just outside of your control. And to be able to work on your mindset and your emotions and positivity is so incredibly important. It's important to me. So when measuring success, I think that the gap of where we are versus where we want to be should be motivating. I think it is something that is why we become so successful, right? But when we dwell in it, when we live in it, when we're all consumed by it, right? Like I'll consult with loan originators that will tell me proudly, Mike, I'm never happy, man. I'm never satisfied. I'm never comfortable. I always want more. And I get it, right? That's why they're as successful as they are. But man, what a sad life to live, right? It's almost like, we want to pursue all that we want while being happy with all that we've done and all that we've had. And that's why when we measure success, we shouldn't measure success by the gap and how far we are from where we want to be, but we should measure success backwards in terms of progression of how far we've come, right? Like Carl White, leader of the Mortgage Market Animals I'm with, will tell us just like life and this journey is like paddling down a horizon, and the horizon, it just keeps pushing out far. You never reach it. You can never reach the horizon. It's not there, because in life there's always more mountains and more to do and more to conquer. Life goes on. But oh boy, we got to turn back sometimes, turn our neck around, and look at how far we've come. And that's where happiness comes from, is through progression and measuring success backwards. So my actionable item is, before bed every night, think about 3 wins, big, small, professional, personal, whatever. Every night, think of 3 wins before you go to bed. This is something I have to be intentional about, focused on. I've really got to work on this. Otherwise, it's not natural to me, right? That's not how I grew up, right? Thinking about the wins I had for the day. I'm usually thinking about how much I've lost and how much life sucks, right? I
Hmm.
had to transform my mindset into the wins and the good things to be grateful about. And that would be my action item to leave everybody with, to become happier and to make more sales and do better.
That's powerful. That's powerful. That concept of the gap in the game, and that's one thing taught me about. I remember you recommended that book actually. And for those who
Mm-hmm.
want to dive into that concept deeper, Dan Sullivan's book, The Gap
Yep.
in the Game, dives into this concept for 5 hours. It's an amazing audiobook experience if you guys want to listen to it on Audible. But that concept is one that has changed my life. And not only does it affect the way you think, it also affects the way you lead and interact and love on other people. So for those of you who are listening to this both live and on the replay, you know, that little mindset shift can be all the change in the world. So thank you, Mike, for sharing that. I think that's a great, final point to leave everyone with.
Well, thanks for
Excuse
having
me.
me on the show, brother. I appreciate it, man, and just keep it up. It's amazing to see the lineup that you've had, the advice that you've shared, how personal you've gotten on the show, and just your big plans and dreams. I mean, you're, for everybody listening, this is the type of person you want to be around. They say life is like the 5 people you spend the most time with, and man, if that's true, I'm blessed to be around you, brother. So thank you for having me on the show, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're still here at this point in the show, you are really just getting the best of the best. So thank you guys so much. If you want to go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, I'll go ahead and do my best to leave some more resources down below. I'll go ahead and leave the link to some of the books that we mentioned, and as well as Mike's social media if you want to go ahead and connect with him, if you're an MLO or if you have any interest in all and just reaching out. Mike's been a very helpful person to me personally, and I'm sure he'll do the same for you. And I'll go ahead and put up some videos up top as well. So with that being said, guys, we're going back to the weekly format here of the show because I just can't resist getting more content into all of your hands. So I'll be seeing you guys next week on the next episode. Until then, goodbye and stay safe.